In a vast universe of unfathomable complexity, an underlying phenomenon has often been ignored in the corners of our comprehension: the nova effect. The concept postulates that a minuscule decision or act can set off a chain reaction of consequences, forging divergent paths of existence. On a sunlit day, Edward found himself awaiting the familiar chime of the crosswalk. To his left stood Clara, engrossed in a riveting tale from her book. Adjacent to them, a street vendor, with colors and fragrances radiating from fresh bouquets. "How's the book?" Edward ventured to ask. Clara looked up, surprised. "Captivating," she replied. In this seemingly mundane exchange, an unforeseen cascade of events began to unfurl. Absorbed in their conversation, Clara missed her train. That meant she would not bump into the man on the platform, who, had they met, would have been so flustered that he'd forget to pick up his son from school. This oversight would lead to the child forming a bond with his teacher, who'd notice him waiting, eventually influencing his decision to become an educator himself. Meanwhile, Edward, encouraged by their interaction, decided to purchase a rose for Clara. This gesture brightened the otherwise dreary day for the vendor. With newfound hope, he gifted roses to random passers-by. One such recipient, moved by the gesture, decided to visit her estranged mother in the hospital, where they mended their broken relationship. But in another ward, a lonely old man, noticing the flower, was reminded of his deceased wife, pushing him further into the chasm of despair. Yet what if Edward had refrained from speaking? The nova effect indicates a universe with a contrasting sequence of events. Clara would have boarded her train, the child would have been picked up on time, and the vendor might have concluded his day early, disheartened. Later, as Edward and Clara shared stories over tea, she pondered, "What prompted you to ask about my book?" Edward hesitated, feeling the magnitude behind the inquiry. Maybe it was the universe whispering, or a random whim. Do actions always need profound reasoning? Clara, with a depth in her eyes, replied, "In another reality, you probably walked past." As the narrative unravels, the impact of the nova effect becomes clearer. Each action, regardless of its size, is a pivot in the grand narrative of life. For instance, one of the bouquets which the vendor, inspired by Edward's purchase, sold at a discount, ended up at a funeral. The grieving family, comforted slightly by the flowers, decided to invest more time in their community, preventing a local teenager from succumbing to addiction. On the flip side, another bouquet found its way to a young couple's dinner table. The boyfriend had intended it as an apology for a forgotten anniversary. The girlfriend, appreciating the gesture, decided against ending the relationship that night. They went on to have a child who'd one day make groundbreaking contributions to renewable energy. However, the tendrils of the nova effect are not always so bright. A businessman, seeing the free flowers handed out, was reminded of his own inability to gift his wife such small tokens due to their financial situation. That evening, he made a risky business decision, leading to his company's bankruptcy and hundreds losing their jobs. One of the laid-off workers, unable to cope, tragically took his own life. This tale, at its core, isn't about Edward or Clara, but about the interwoven fabric of existence. The nova effect emphasizes our shared narrative, how we shape it, and how it shapes us. Sometimes it's the fleeting moments, a held gaze, or an interrupted routine that can change destinies. A seemingly trivial act can be the catalyst for joy, despair, birth, or end. We dance on the edge of possibilities, forever entwined in the vast choreography of the universe. Every interaction, every silent choice paints a universe of myriad colors, both dark and radiant. And within this vast expanse, we find the reminder that every moment is a universe of its own, filled with boundless potential. If this narrative resonated with you, do support us. Hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe. Thank you for staying with us to the end. See you in the next video on Plaid Chronicles.